Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with Senior Political Correspondent David Drucker. And David, the 2022 midterms are almost upon us, at least the 2022 midterm year. How much trouble are Democrats really in heading into this next year?
They're in a lot of trouble. I mean, all of the metrics that we're looking at that tell you that usually tells you what is going to happen in a midterm election looks bad for them. So the off-year elections in Virginia and elsewhere around the country in 2021 were uniformly bad for Democrats. And if you look back at 2017, those elections were uniformly great for Democrats, and they had a great 2018. That was former President Donald Trump's first and only, for now, midterm election. If you look back at 2009, the midterm elections, the off-year elections in Virginia and elsewhere around the country were uniformly great for Republicans. It foreshadowed a great 2010 for the Republican Party and President Barack Obama's first midterm election. So what we've seen in 2021 is all bad for Democrats. Then you look at Joe Biden's approval ratings. They are close to 40%, and they've been stuck there for months. And the longer a president of any party is stuck with poor approval ratings, it's almost like the harder it is to dig out, because the point of view of how the president is doing and what people think of him personally, those views begin to harden over time, and it's not just as simple as going one way one day and one way the next. And then you look at redistricting, which is yet another metric. Republicans have done very well in the decennial reapportionment process, where the states that gain seats tend to be Republican states, the states that lost seats tend to be Republican states. But even in just places where the maps were redrawn, like Ohio's losing a seat, maybe two, can't remember, but it's become such a Republican state over the past decade or so that all of a sudden just about every seat, no matter how you draw the map, is going to be hospitable territory for the Republican Party. Some of this has happened for Democrats in some states like Illinois, and it's happening in California, but it's just happening in more places for Republicans. So you look at redistricting, you look at President Biden's approval ratings, you look at the political atmospherics as evidenced through elections that happened in 2021, and it just tells us that Republicans are on track to win control of the House of Representatives in 2022, possibly by a wide margin, and they're on track to win control of the Senate in 2022, possibly by more than just a couple of seats, and all they need in the Senate is one net seat.
How big might that margin be? We hear some comparisons from optimistic Republicans to 2010 and some other years where Republicans performed very well. Do the indicators suggest that the victory could be that big?
Well, you talk to Republicans, and they're very optimistic that they could win something along the lines of what happened in 2010. In 2010, Republicans won control of 63 Democratic-held seats. It was a historic level gain for the Republican Party in Congress in a midterm election. They won control of 7 Senate seats that cycle. It wasn't quite enough for the majority, but 7 Senate seats in a cycle is a lot of Senate seats. In 2014, Barack Obama's second midterm year, Republicans won 9 Senate seats, and they came close to winning a couple more. And so that shows you what's possible when it comes to the U.S. Senate. I think in some sense, the Republicans might be a little over exuberant, only because in 2010, what they were able to do was win control of seats that over the years had been trending Republican in presidential elections, but they were still voting for the Democratic congressman they knew that was entrenched, that they were happy with, that maybe was a powerful chairman or was able to bring home the bacon in terms of federal spending. And then finally in 2010, that realignment in congressional seats just flipped a switch, and everybody just kind of went where they were already voting anyway in statewide elections. And so the question is, are there enough seats that are prone to be Republican if they would just get that little extra nudge such that Republicans could score that big a victory? I tend to, and this is not scientific, I tend to see on a really good day for Republicans a 40-seat gain. That's not nothing. I don't know if they can hit 63 seats, just because so much of their gains in 2010 were not just that they won competitive seats, swing seats, or seats that maybe were Republican, but just not hugely Republican. But they won this whole community of congressional districts that really should have been voting Republican for quite some time. Were doing so in presidential races, but hadn't quite gotten over the hump in these smaller races. So I think that, like, if the election were held today, they'd have a really good day. I don't know if it would be that good. And, you know, with the Senate, I kind of look at it similarly in that a lot of states that are red states, Republicans already have. Even in 2018, when Republicans lost control of the House and what was a really big suburban rebuke of Donald Trump, they gained a couple of Senate seats, North Dakota and Missouri, and so they actually increased their numbers. So the question when you look at the Senate map is, where can they increase their numbers on the natural versus winning competitive seats? They have great chances in Georgia and Arizona. I expect them to hold in North Carolina and Pennsylvania, but a lot of the seats that are up are very competitive. I'll have to check the tape, but there are not that many just blatantly red seats where you have members that are clearly going to lose. I mean, there are Democrats that are going to lose, but none of them that I don't think there are any in seats like the Dakotas or Missouri or things like that, where it's just they got lucky once and now their luck's run out.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more reporting from David and the rest of the political team at WashingtonExaminer.com.